Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the province fast-tracks the North Coast transmission line, Lac Squillames gets a big housing announcement, and the BC Finance Minister reflects on her visit to the Northwest.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. Healthcare and infrastructure remain key priorities for the province. These topics took the center stage in Prince Rupert. From ongoing labor disputes to major investments in local hospitals, provincial leaders say progress is being made even amid the challenges. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante has more.
As the GEU strike enters its 7th week, the finance minister says government is balancing fair compensation with economic stability.
We're very looking forward to getting back to the table. And there are two competing factors that we're managing right now. One is to make sure that these workers are compensated fairly, that they have safe working conditions and good lives in these jobs. We've offered 5% over 2 years, which keeps these workers protected from inflation. The BCGEU is asking for 4% each year and 4% on top of that in additional benefits. That's 12%, which is a challenging ask for us in this economy. So it's important that we solve this challenge, and we do want to get back to the table, but we have to solve it in a way that's fair for all British Columbians.
When asked how government prioritizes investment, especially at a time where labor negotiations and budget pressures are ongoing, the finance minister Bailey says investment like this go beyond infrastructure.
Yes, there's a number of different ways where regional projects gets prioritized, and one, of course, is through the Resource Benefits Alliance, which was an agreement that we came to last year after hearing very clearly from small communities and rural communities that there was a feeling that resources were taken out of the community but not put back in the same level. And so the Resource Benefit Alliance is designed to address that challenge, and I know has been a very welcome addition to smaller communities. Smaller communities struggle because they don't have the same number of people to draw for tax base. So it's important that we come up for solutions that work for rural and remote communities.
And while Prince Rupert celebrates its hospital milestone, the minister says there is still more work ahead, including ongoing infrastructure and water system improvements.
Well, I think when you think about infrastructure like a hospital and like schools and like the housing that we've been building here in Prince Rupert and elsewhere, it really is an economic investment as well as a social investment, because when people consider where they would like to live and grow their lives and raise their children, they look at the infrastructure. And so that's one of the reasons it's so important that we continue this work. There's more work to be done. I'm here in Prince Rupert. We know there are challenges in regards to water, for example. The province has funded $110 million into water so far, but there's more work to be done.
CFTK-TV News, Helen Asante.
The Burns Lake RCMP are attempting to find a man that allegedly committed an assault several months ago. Back on July 11th of this year, the Burns Lake police got a call reporting that a 14-year-old girl had been grabbed in the neck area by a man that also allegedly tried grabbing her waist before he walked away. The suspect in this case has been described as a 50 to 55-year-old male with gray hair, a brown beard, dark clothes, and possibly smelling of liquor. A sketch of the suspect has been made, and anyone who might know where he's located is asked to contact the Burns Lake RCMP. We've had some major announcements regarding new housing for the Lac Squillames Band. CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin has more details.
Last week saw an announcement revealed that the Lac Squillames Band will be getting new affordable rental homes to house their members in the city of Prince Rupert. Prince Rupert Mayor Herb Pond attended the new project's groundbreaking and then later talked about some more details of the project.
There are 38 units of a variety of studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Walkable right across from Save-On, so walkable within the community.
The housing project will be located at 836 3rd Avenue in Prince Rupert, and it's expected to be completed sometime in the fall of 2027. The province of BC provided over $15 million in total to this project through BC Housing. Mayor Pond also mentioned the key role that the City of Prince Rupert played in putting this development in motion, in addition to how this project should really benefit a lot of people, including the city.
The City of Prince Rupert, previous council, this council continued those policies, has opened the door to encourage that kind of development in the downtown core, waiving building fees, waiving development cost charges, eliminating parking requirements, all kinds of things to make it easier to get a project across the line in the downtown core. Huge step forward for the community to see new housing in the downtown. I think it's particularly relevant for seniors in that, a senior could live in those units, not have a vehicle, be able to just walk across the street and get their groceries. But it's also, every time they build another housing unit, like they're completing the 70-unit apartment block on 11th, now we have 38 units going in there. That's 108 families that are no longer putting pressure on the Prince Rupert housing market, right? And so every time one of those developments goes ahead, it's good for the whole community, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing more of them go.
The Loch Willam's WAP Housing Society owns the building and has control over what happens with it, although the City of Prince Rupert will act as an overseer for the building in order to make sure that quality standards are met. This announcement also came alongside another revelation that the band is opening 20 new rental homes in another on-reserve community near Prince Rupert that's only accessible by boat. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
Coast Mountain College is undergoing major restructuring to reduce annual spending by $4 million. The plan includes closing the Hazelton campus by June 2026 and shifting focus to 3 main campuses, Terrace, Prince Rupert, and Smithers. The college says the changes come as international student revenues decline, prompting a 20% workforce reduction across departments. President Lori Way says the decision was difficult but necessary to build a sustainable future, adding that Hazelton residents will still have access to training through the community spaces and mobile units. Coming up next, a much-needed complex paves the way in the housing crisis. The province is proving they want to move fast in electrifying big projects in the north with the announcement of a new investment. CTV's Dimitra Maragos reports.
An announcement poised to make an impact.
We need the electricity. We need to leverage the benefits that we have here in order to be able to realize the prosperity that we want.
This new legislation.
This law will mean we can move faster on the North Coast transmission line.
NCTL will mirror the existing line to double the electricity capacity and will be developed in 3 phases.
We need to ensure that we're accessing that clean, reliable, affordable power. The kind of power that will give us an edge in the global economy.
The province says the legislation is designed to meet the surging demand for power in traditional sectors.
Without these changes today, critical mining and LNG projects in the north simply won't move forward.
And emerging industries such as AI and data centers.
We intend to make it easier for companies to make that final decision by getting them access to clean, sustainable power at fair rates without billions of dollars in upfront costs that can stifle investment.
The province says once the NCTL is up and running, it's expected to add close to $10 billion to the GDP every year, generate about $1 billion in revenue to deliver services to people in the province and nationally, create on average 10,000 jobs, and they say it will assist in reducing greenhouse gas emissions by approximately 2 to 3 million tons of carbon dioxide per year. But some have concerns about how much this will cost in the meantime.
It's a $3 billion power line.
And says it can be done for a fraction of the cost.
That need can be met, again, with a resource, natural gas, that we already have in a 300 to 1,000 year supply in this province, and it can be done for a much, much lower cost and higher reliability.
Now, construction is expected to start in the summer of 2026. Dimitri Marigo, CTV News, Vancouver.
Stated in a report from the Kitimat RCMP, officers were out checking to see if drivers traveling along Highway 37 near the Kitimat Village Road had installed their winter tires yet. The report said that about 65 vehicles were checked and most of them either had the proper tires or were set to get them installed within the week. Any vehicles who attempt to travel on the highway without winter tires might be prevented from partaking in any highway travel and receive a fine of up to $121. Direly needed housing has now opened and is being celebrated by those who brought the project to life. CTV's Andy Garland reports.
A cedar ribbon cutting signifies the opening of Chitapi Mahli Housing Complex in Port Alberni.
Chitapi is an important mountain and landmark in our Ahousa territory, and Mahli means house, home.
There are 500 Ahousa First Nations members living in Port Alberni, with some struggling to find much-needed housing.
One time we were having a Ahousa members meeting with our people here in Port Alberni, and someone says, "How can you help us with housing?" And here we are.
The 7-year journey took the entire community working together to make this housing complex a reality.
We had our protocols with the local nations here of Tishad and Hopitisat, and we worked with the municipality, Port Alberni.
The city of Port Alberni contributed the land for the project.
I remember one of my counselors saying, what good is the land that we're privileged to have if we're not using it to improve the lives of our community members?
The 4-story complex ranges from bachelor suites all the way up to 4-bedroom units and has common areas like this courtyard.
35 families are going to be able to find a home. And this today is a milestone of homecoming.
No one has moved in yet, and people wanting to will have to register through BC Housing.
We have a selection committee that they will be making the decisions.
2 totems donated by hereditary chiefs are being painted and will be the last pieces resurrected before the doors officially open.
And this is their gift to us here.
Andy Garland, CTV News, Port Alberni.
A small 3.1 magnitude earthquake struck today off the coast of Vancouver Island. Earthquakes Canada says it occurred 13 kilometers north of Sydney at about 5:30 a.m. The agency says the quake was lightly felt on the Saanich Peninsula. And now we'll take a look at your Northwest weather report. Tonight on the North Coast, expect conditions to be cloudy, a 60% chance of showers this evening, rain beginning near midnight, 5 to 10 millimeters, some wind as well, temperature steady near 11 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect to stay wet with more rain and showers expected through the weekend. Daily highs 8 to 10 degrees, overnight lows between 3 and 10 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace Kitimat area, expected to be cloudy with a 60% chance of showers. Winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming from the north at 30 near midnight, a low of 6 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect the rain to continue and a possibility of flurries getting into the weekend. Daily highs 5 to 9 degrees, overnight lows between 1 and 6 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking mainly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early this evening and a low of +2 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect showers to continue, but likely some sun on Friday. Cloudy for the weekend. Daily highs 4 to 10 degrees, overnight lows from 1 to 4 degrees. Checking your highways around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect. Also maintenance, utility work and construction work underway. On Highway 37, there's maintenance as well as bridge construction. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks as well as bridge maintenance underway. On the Nisga'a Highway, there's mowing. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, Canada's new anti-fraud squad. BC Conservative leader John Rustad is facing some steep criticism as another member has now left the party. CTV's Rob Buffum reports.
She's the latest and fifth BC Conservative MLA to leave the party since last October's election. Penticton-Summerland MLA Amelia Boltby quitting the caucus Monday.
Over the past weeks and months, I have witnessed, along with all British Columbians, the unraveling of John Rustad.
Boltby cited a membership scandal, MLA's phones being searched for leaks, and what she called intimidating behavior by Rustad in caucus meetings.
He has invited me to get the F out if I don't like it, and I've taken him up on that offer, and I suggest you do too.
Rustad wasting no time in responding, citing Boltby as a leak, raising concerns about her views on Hamas, and raising issues about her mental health.
We tried to work through the idea with her to actually just take a leave for a period of time to come out and decide what she wanted to do with her future.
Boltby's departure reminiscent of Eleanor Sturco's a few weeks ago when she was kicked out of caucus for alleged disloyalty.
I feel that he was attempting to use mental health as a way of disparaging Amelia, which I think frankly is disgusting.
Current BC Conservative Brennan Day, who declined to talk on camera, also bristled, tweeting, "To weaponize or trivialize someone's health condition, mental or otherwise, is harmful to those who already face stigma in silence." Already gone from the Conservatives, Dallas Brody, turfed months ago by Rustad, and joined shortly thereafter by Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley, who left.
I think that things are starting to catch up with John.
The turmoil just 1 year and a day after the Conservatives narrowly lost the election, Rustad on the cusp of being premier. Now the latest poll shows the NDP with a comfortable 7-point lead among decided voters.
John Rustad is struggling, but whoever replaces him, and he will be replaced sooner rather than later, I suspect, is going to face exactly the same challenges and may not be any better positioned.
Boltby is calling for her now former boss to resign, a position at least 5 former Conservatives now hold.
The government is responding to a series of scathing reports today by Canada's Auditor General. Karen Hogan tabled her findings on failings around military housing and recruitment, Indigenous infrastructure and services, as well as cybersecurity. The agencies responsible for cybersecurity have agreed to Hogan's various recommendations to remedy the shortcomings. And changes in the upcoming federal budget will create room to target fraud, but it doesn't come without criticism. CTV's Mike Lacoutal reports.
Budget 2025 will introduce Canada's first ever national anti-fraud strategy.
The strategy is also coming with a new agency that will target money laundering and online fraud. Canada plans to collaborate with other countries to target those transnational crimes.
We're talking to the FBI, we're going to talk to the financial crime unit in the UK, but my aim is to go after organized crime, is to go after those who scam and defraud Canadians.
There's no doubt that it's really late in the game.
Cybersecurity experts point out the Liberal government promised a financial crimes agency 5 years ago, and they say this multilateral collaboration with other countries is key to catching these types of criminals.
There's a culture of cooperation that needs to be built within our regulatory institutions, within our law enforcement, and within the financial system.
That's partly why the government will amend the Bank Act to require express consent from account holders before enabling services like e-transfers. They'll also require banks to have policies and procedures to detect consumer-focused fraud. The Canadian Bankers Association is on board and applauds the move to have a central financial crimes agency.
There's a lot of skills that involved, the white collar, the movement of money, the complexities. And so having people that can be focused on that would be critical.
This is one of the many pre-budget announcements the government is making leading up to November 4th. And today, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre called on the Prime Minister to keep the deficit under $42 billion, something Mark Carney has already signaled will not happen.
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index finished more than 500 points lower, while U.S. stock markets posted mixed results. The Canadian dollar gained under 1/10 of a cent. The price of gold dropped $250. Oil gained 22 cents. Natural gas was up 9 cents. Aluminum dropped $18. In Toronto, the TSX was down almost 528 points. The Venture Index dropped 32 points. In New York, the Nasdaq fell by 37 points and the Dow was up 218 points. Still ahead, hopeful trade talks around Canadian steel and lumber. Stubborn price hikes at the grocery store drove Canada's annual inflation higher in September. Statistics Canada says grocery prices jumped 4% compared with the same month a year ago. And hopes are high for an improvement to American trade deals as Canada's Business Council says they're hopeful.
Government sources tell CTV News they are hopeful there could be movement on a steel and aluminum deal with the U.S. this week.
There's reason to be cautiously optimistic that we're working towards some sectoral agreements on aluminum and steel and energy.
Signs strong enough for the head of the Business Council of Canada to comment publicly.
We're optimistic that if they can get it to the finish line this week, something can be announced.
One would hope that some of the concessions and the movement Canada's been making is being recognized in Washington as a constructive measure, and that hopefully that translates into getting some things that we want from the negotiating table.
But some of that movement has been criticized by the Canadian Steel Producers Association. New counter-tariff exemptions for Canadian companies bringing in steel and aluminum from the U.S. and China.
So you're talking about a very small group of very specific products that needed to enter Canada to maintain the supply chain.
The whole point was to choose products that we don't make here in Canada.
Keenan Loomis represents Canadian steel fabricators and says the decision to exempt I-beam specifically is critical to about 500 Canadian businesses that work with the U.S.
This is really, really impactful when it comes to projects where my guys are working on American projects and bringing in the steel, engineering it, fabricating it here in our shops here in Canada, and then sending it back to the U.S.
The focus now, whether there will be a sectoral deal reached this week or during the Prime Minister's upcoming trip to Asia, where both he and the American president are expected to attend the APEC summit.
That's our news for now. For more local news, check out CFTK-TV.com. We're also on TikTok and YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.